When Professor Di Yu first came to Australia to do his PhD in 2003, he was following in the footsteps of his science role model.
Professor Jacques Miller was one of those brilliant immunologists working in 60s, 70s and contribute and build up Australia as international leader of immunology.
Professor Yu ended up falling in love with the Australian culture and people.
I decided to stay in Australia for almost 20 years now to do my favorite immunology research, but also live in this lovely land.
In those 2 decades, he's made his own mark as a professor of immunology at the University of Queensland Fraser Institute, which is part of the Translational Research Institute. Professor Yu has undertaken groundbreaking work on the immune system and how to control its antibody responses.
Antibodies can protect us from infectious disease, as we all know from COVID-19. On the other hand, antibodies can turn around damaging our own tissue rather than pathogens. So control antibody response is essential.
In the immune system, B cells are responsible for producing antibodies, and their actions are tightly regulated by T cells. But little is known about how that regulation process works. Professor Yu and his colleagues discovered that it's only a subset of T cells, known as follicular helper T cells or TFH, that control B cells for antibody production. Their research has important applications, including vaccine development.
We can enhance TFH survival and longevity in human beings during the vaccine process, and that can end up with the better vaccine and antibody production.
So far, they've tested this process with the flu vaccine, but Professor Yu says it could potentially boost the efficacy of many other vaccines, including those for COVID-19. This isn't the only example of the real-world impact his research is having. He's also focused on tackling the ugly side of antibodies, where they become pathogenic and attack the body's own tissues. This happens in people with autoimmune diseases. Professor Yu and his colleagues brought an innovative treatment known as low-dose IL-2 therapy to clinical trials involving patients with lupus.
Low-dose IL-2 therapy can inhibit the function of follicular helper T cells, reduce the production of pathogenic antibody, reduced level of autoantibodies, and that can contribute for the remission of the patient with lupus.
Professor Yu says he's constantly on the lookout for ways to take his research further. In 2022, he became the inaugural director of the Ian Fraser Centre for Children's Immunotherapy Research. His team is working to better understand the child immune system and improve treatments for kids with cancer and other life-threatening immune-related diseases. For his outstanding contributions in experimental biomedicine, Professor Yu has been awarded the Jacques Miller Medal from the Australian Academy of Science. He says the medal represents a full-circle moment for him.
Professor Jacques Miller is the founder of my research topic. So you can see how special this means to me.